Damn, I thought he would have been signed it by now, but I guess he still did.
He literally said, "Send it to me and I'll sign it." But that,
That's what he said.
whatever.
That's why I was confused. And then he still didn't tell me the dimensions on the two land properties that he had, so I just looked them up, like through
Okay.
county records and atlas and stuff like that. So what it was, I believe, for the 1030 North Morocco Ave, it said the dimensions was 50 times 50 by 175, and then the other one was 50 by 130.
All right. So those will work. So now we just have to use either the land app, which you have the land OS login. You can do it.
Yeah.
Use that. You can use batch leads. You have to run some comps on it and get some information and see what we want to do. I would suggest, because it's him, let's make sure we can come to an agreement on what the terms are, because he went so far 180, or his attorney, whoever, went so far 180
Yeah.
that unless he's willing to come back to a set of terms that we're okay with. I mean, you can do it if you want, but it's kind of like, why spend the time on it if it's not going to go
Right.
anywhere? So that would be kind of where that's basically. I mean, do I want to work with Angelo? Yeah, but so many things with him have been okay. Well, here's a 180 on a contract that doesn't even make sense, that he clearly never read.
Right. Even from the
then,
conversation, yeah.
what?
I say even from the conversation, like I could just tell that his attorney got overzealous. Like,
Well, except it almost seems like he's an attorney too. Isn't that what Alex K or AK Legal is? His initials legal. So as an attorney, he should know that you don't send something you don't read.
oh well, yeah.
Kind of rule one of being an attorney.
Yeah.
So I mean, the right answer for land is to use the Land OS app and use batch leads and look at finished values and whatever. But given him, and just because this is being recorded, just for everybody out there, we had Nair found a great 15 unit in Cincinnati, which I might even do if this actually became real. I don't have any reason to go to Cincinnati, but it sounds like it might be a reasonable deal to look at. And we negotiated a price with the guy. He understood about the escalation clause, which, again, for those of you who are just starting with us, we do wholesaling a little differently. In situations where we can't quite meet the seller's price, we say, okay, we want to give you our number, and then an escalation above that number. So in his case, it was 19,000 a door, and escalation after 21. So we make the first $2,000 a door, and we 50-50 everything else. And we sent him our contract, and his attorney sent back a shockingly unacceptable version of the contract, with just about everything that would have made it possible for us to be in business was prevented by his contract. So we're, I'm suspicious of, not of his motives. I don't think he's an insincere guy. I'm just, do we want to waste any more time on his land until he comes up with something, until we know what his terms are.
Right.
So yeah, so I just want to kind of give everybody who might be watching this a catch up, so it's not like, where the hell is this conversation? And he has land, that would be great to work with. And the guy is clearly experienced. He's an investor. He might even be. He looks like he's an attorney, but from his email address. So basically, your choice, Nair, if you wanted to run comps on it and run it down, or you wanted to, just wait and see. Either way.
Okay, like I'll put it through the Land OS and see what I get back for everything.
Yeah. And remember, so again, this is for you, but also for everybody else. Like, we have batch leads and we pay for it for people to research, and we don't do training on the applications that we provide, because batch leads has great videos. I can show you, and I will show you briefly how to do something in batch leads, but don't go to me for batch leads. Go to batch leads videos for batch leads, because they're better. We have Land OS for finding and analyzing and all sorts of things land. That is more than just a tool That's literally OS stands for operating system. That is a it does everything. It comps it. It shows you how to subdivide it. It does a whole messy pile of crap. We have tracked IQ for self storage. We also have store track for self storage, and we have a couple other tools. So basically, when we're talking about these things, these are all tools that our team has available, and there's passwords we're already paying for. But yeah, so on the land, what you should do, and by the way, we're getting another. I just got to pay my partner for it, or my other friend Mike for it. Is we're getting about 5,000 AI filtered leads,
Okay.
which are Luzerne, and this is where. Oh, hey Alex. Hey Alex, we'll catch up in a second and just watch the video to kind of catch up. But basically, so my friend Mike Rubenkamp is another investor. I actually did a lot of wholesaling with him early on, and then the deal started drying up. And he buys it from me when I have something, but he's kind of doing a lot of his own marketing now. And the tool he's using, he buys the entire county of Luzerne for like $8,000 every 6 months, and he only mails to 3 different zip codes. So we are buying into his data. So we're going to voice call, text call, whatever. So again, you guys are going to have we already have hundreds, but a lot of leads from Real Estate Bees and a couple other sources that you guys can start calling on. Then now we're going to have Mike's leads. Now we can also, anybody can log in and go into batch leads and search leads, and I'll explain what you should search for. I won't give you, batch leads, the videos, batch leads. The batch leads videos will train you on how to use batch leads better, but I'll walk through that. So there's no shortage of places to be calling. And Nair, I'm not pointing at you, I'm just saying in general.
Right.
The tools are here. The role, not the only role, I don't want to make it, minimalist, but the main role for you guys in our operation is to be making those calls and making those connections. Once you get them on the phone, Nair's more experienced in this, but once you get them on the phone, then you can fold us in and we'll do the live calls with you. But, please be making these calls. A lot of people default to going on Zillow, going on Craigslist, going on Facebook Marketplace. Please don't waste your time. There's no other way to say it. If you are licensed agents, for guys like Will, who are licensed agents, guys like Connor, who are getting their license, maybe, because you're not going in to cut them off at the knees in the price. You are, and Alex, you're probably going to need to be on a laptop to see what we're talking about, just showing you how to comp stuff, which we'll get.
Yeah, I'm going to get on my laptop right now. I'm about to set it up.
All right, cool. But yeah, so basically, you're not going to win in the wholesale game that way, because if you think about it, if somebody's already got something on Zillow or Craigslist or Facebook for $50,000, we have to bring it back to market after we put it under contract from them for less than $50,000. So we have to take the edge off, basically. It's, I don't know, I think it was Nair or Alex, the lady in Newark with the multi-unit. Remind me to call her later today. I got to circle back with that. I had some family issues the last couple of days and I just forgot about her. But anyway, so, and by the way, that is one thing that I am not great at, and this is the other role for you guys, is following them. Is that remembering, hey, we need to call this person. Remembering, hey, this is what needs to happen next. That's what you guys have to do. So when you give us a lead, it's not, if you want it to be hands off, then you're only going to make 10, 15%. But if you want to make the bigger percentage, you either have to be making the calls or checking with us and saying, hey, should I call them? Or at least remembering, hey, we need to call this person. If you need tools for that, we have tools for that too, but you guys got to keep us on the face on that. So, but the thing is that you won't win if the world has already seen a house for $50,000. We're not going to win putting it under contract at 50 and bringing it back to the market at 60. No, it's like, I know a t-shirt is $5 at Walmart. Why would I spend $9 from the back of your trunk? It's not going to happen. You won't even win bringing it back at 50, because if they had an offer at 50, they wouldn't be putting it under contract to you for less. So we know no one's offered 50. So we really have to. I mean, has it happened? Yeah, I think Ryan and I, during the height of the busy sellers market bullshit of the last 5 years, we sold three things that one of our team members found on Facebook Marketplace. Three in the last 15 years. I'm sorry, no. I say in the last 7 years, because before that it was a little more likely that there wasn't enough buyers back then. So just you need to be generating fresh calls. Now, any questions before I go into other stuff?
Well, not at the moment, not for me.
Okay. All right. So I have here, and I'm just going to ask.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question real fast. What I gotta get on my laptop? What's the website I gotta get on?
This one here, the StreamYard. The same.
What's the name of it?
StreamYard.com. The same link that's in your phone right now.
Streamyard.com. All right.
There's a whole bunch of stuff that comes after it. Copy the link in your text message into your browser. Email it to yourself or something. I will. So I will put it up here right now. I'll put it up right on the screen. That's probably the easiest thing to do. And I'll also put it in the chat group. So this is the important part. After StreamYard.com, that's the part that matters. And I'm trying to figure out how I can put it somewhere that I can grow it and you can see it. Well, that didn't work. So when you're ready, I can read it to you. But this is it. StreamYard.com, and that stuff on the second line is what is the fancy stuff. So let me know when you're ready for that, Alec, and I'll switch back. So, all right. So basically, we got a call a couple days ago from a woman with a house in Pittsburgh, which, surprisingly enough, Pittsburgh is a hugely, hugely busy market. Also, I was briefly last week. I was telling you about the guy in Springfield. I was all excited he was going to come on board. Yada yada yada. Well, he's gone dark, which happens about 50% of the time. People go dark and never actually come on board. But he mentioned to me that Springfield, Massachusetts, is a very underserved region for wholesalers. So I'm not saying we look elsewhere, but if we did, that may not be a bad market to look at. Pittsburgh, I've got a friend out there she's a flipper. She's flipping 7 to 10 houses a month. So, yeah. Anyway, so this woman in Pittsburgh called up with this house on Orchard Street in Pittsburgh. And that's the house. You can tell it's an absolutely wonderful, beautiful home with everything you might ever want if you're looking to live in crack house conditions. And inside doesn't look any better than the outside. She sent me a few pictures. And, she wants $65,000 for it. And she was telling me it's worth $300 and $280 and when it's done, $250 to $350, whatever. So in doing the research, like most people in her situation, and I don't believe she's being dishonest, she doesn't have any proof of that. She's like, well, I had an appraisal of 190 3 years ago, and it's got to be worth another 100,000 on top of that. I'm like, well, that's not how it works, especially not now. So she wanted 65. We just made her an offer of 55,000, and we're obviously debating because she doesn't like that number. And so this is what we do to find out in batch leads what something is worth. So you put in the address here, and you punch it when it comes up there, and it becomes there. So Put the address in here. It'll pop up below and it'll show up over here. And then you open this part. And it'll pop to this, and it'll give you property details, sale and loan information, meaning what is the current owner got going on it. She bought it for $1,500 in 2021. So she wants $65,000 for it. And this is an important piece of the negotiation process because I gave her 50 and she's like, well, I have so much expenses in carrying it and this and that. I said, but you don't. You bought it for $1,500. So you have 5 years of taxes, insurance, and carrying costs. So maybe you've got another $10,000, $15,000 on top of that. You're nowhere near $65,000 in expenses, ma'am. I'm sorry. And even if you were, I'm sorry, but it doesn't matter because I'm not buying it to get you out of a jam and put myself in one. You know, I'm in business here. And I actually, this woman and I went down the rabbit hole, and this is not a negative, is I told her this, if you believe that much in the property, let me get you a loan to flip the property. We'll run the flip. We'll partner with you on the profit. And you'll make, you know, your share of $350,000 after all is said and done. Oh, no, I just want to sell it. I don't, okay, well then, if you're not taking the risk of where it ends up on the other end, then I'm taking all the risk, or our investor is. So we sing, you know, at that point, we sing the song, or we tell you our song, and you may not choose to sing it with us. And this gives you lots of information. This is the button you really care about. And what you do is you go in here, and the first thing is you only care about sold. You never care about active or pending. Last 12 months is okay. I like last 6 months better. I definitely like located within a mile is way too much, half mile at the most. You can go ignore bedrooms, or you can answer plus or minus. You can answer matching numbers if you want. Lot square feet, because she's on a small lot, I would go 5,000. And then we hit filter. Limit by subdivision is also an important criteria. All right, just up. So something Ryan and I are working on, that limit by subdivision will be good. And then here we go. And you want to go by closest and most similar condition. So here we go. This one sold 11/20/25. So just sold for $305,000. So this is a higher end comp. Now, what I also did was I used ChatGPT to do other research. And I also, within batch leads, this is what you're doing. You're looking and saying, okay, these things are close, they're similar in size, and this is what it's going to be worth finished. It's going to be worth, is this one a little smaller? 185. Let me see if that's Alex. Oh, okay, yeah, I can. Hey, there you are. Okay. All right, so back to batch leads. We look at what this one sold for 185. 185, beautiful home. Okay, so we have 305, a third of a mile away, 185, 2/10 of a mile away. 305 a little bigger than our target, 185 a little smaller than our target. So our target's going to be somewhere in that bell curve. And you keep going through this, and you try to stay as close to the mileage, small as possible, to figure out what they're selling for. And this is kind of the average of what I came up with. That's a really weird way to do the picture, but okay. Although actually it's a really effective way to do the picture because it's showing you don't own this, you don't own this, you own this. So it's actually a very effective way to do the picture.
Is that a border? Is that a
Okay.
borderline?
What?
Is that a borderline around the house on the first picture?
Yeah, I mean, they basically are. I mean, someone drew this up to make it clear that this is what your lot is. Your lot is not, because if you just looked at this, if this wasn't blurry, you might say, "Oh, look at that big side yard that belongs to me." So
Right.
someone was smart and good and honest and whatever enough to say, you don't own that side yard. This is what you're buying." And that's a critical difference. If you had that side yard, it could be worth more. And then
Right.
you've got a little bit of a backyard. So literally they're saying, okay, well, this is what you own. They're doing very good deliverables and saying, okay, this is what you own. And probably if you look at the Orchard Street house, um, if you look at the Zillow for the Orchard Street house, it's probably the exact same situation it's in. Is, you know, it's probably just that, because that's all that's in this particular picture. We have no real reason to know if that lot, and she never said the side lot belonged to her. And clearly these 6 inches don't matter. So this is a pretty good comp. Say, okay, someone paid $245 for a nice renovation, possibly a flip, and they paid it $526.25. So a little beyond the 6 months, but okay, we'll play ball. So that's, and you look at this and you say, okay, I've got 305, I got 185, I got 245, and you start looking at the comparables. But this one is even a little bit. This is almost dead on. We're 1,900 square feet. That's almost 1,800. We look at lot square feet. She's a 3,000 square foot lot. That's 2,500. So the house is a little smaller. Her house, this house is a little smaller. This lot's a little smaller. But you're really kind of within shouting distance of each other. So all right, and the market's not going up. The market's kind of not exactly going up. It's kind of going down. So okay, so I went back and I said, okay, 245. Now I simultaneously looked at it on Zillow, and I drew a little circle. It took a while to find where this was in Pittsburgh, and I drew a little circle and show me the things that are selling on Zillow. And in Zillow, the same thing. You want sold, you want the right number of bathrooms, you want the right home type. So what you don't want to look at is you don't ever want to look at the Zestimate. Although in this case, it looks like, oh, the Zillow is saying that's worth 150. Maybe, not really, because Zillow doesn't know what's inside. Inside is basically pretty darn close to a shell. The drywall's falling down and crap like that. You want to do this. You want to pop behind the Zillow. So you do it in batch leads. You pop behind the Zillow, and you look at what's sold in the neighborhood. 245, 175, 148, 145, 143. Now these are not happy numbers for her at all. And I'm looking at the 145, 143, and I'm saying, these actually aren't horrible houses. So now I'm looking here and I'm seeing cheap, crappy carpet. I'm seeing not the level of beautiful dipped in gold finishes, but nothing really wrong with this house. A little smaller than hers. Okay, so that's a target difference. Fine. So you look at that, you say, okay, and of course, she's 1,900 square feet. This is 1,300, but still, is 600 square feet worth $100,000? I don't know. So it's entirely possible 245 ends up being screaming high on the price, but this is all part of the equation. We're saying, hey, 245 here, almost same, very similar house. This one's a much smaller house, sold for 175. But that's going back to 2023. Your sale dates also matter here. Now this one here, 20, okay, 4 of 25 sold for 143, but it's only 900 square feet. Our house is almost double that square footage. Um, so this is how we run the comps. Now, I then went one step further and I threw it in ChatGPT. And I prompted Chat, which I can give you the prompts on this, and we will be making a GPT for it. But GPT did the research and said, here's the sold, here's the sold, here's the sold, bigger yards than your subject, da-da-da. And it was coming up for 210 to 275 and highly sensitive to micro neighborhood, meaning we're talking, in a city like Pittsburgh, one block is luxury, one block you get shot. So you go that way. So you do all this playing around and you come up with, and this is not you going back to them, this is you coming to us and saying, hey, I've researched this property in the form that you guys have seen a million times. I put in the Zillow link, I put in the Google link, Google Maps link, all that stuff. And here's what I think it's worth, and here's why. Here's what it's worth finished. And then you go and we do this. You're not coming out of the gate and doing this. We're doing this together. But then we're going to look at the pictures together and say, okay, what do we think the renovation estimate, the repair estimate is? Well, she told me nothing works. It's a gutted shell. So with that situation, nothing works. It's a gutted shell. I know I need a roof. He says that 10,000. I said, no way in hell. Roofs are never going to be 10 grand. They're going to tell you 10 grand. Then when they get in there, oh, it won't be a layer over. It's going to be a rip off because the first layer was bad. They knew that going in. Oh, you need to replace all of your plywood. We only planned on one sheet of plywood. Now we need 50. And that's those. So roofs are never what they tell you. It's always worse. And then there's gutter questions. So I said, that's 20,000. So finally, long story short, I came back and I said, ChatGPT walked through and we came up with a ballpark estimate where the best we can probably pay her is 55,000. And that's probably high. But I didn't want to freak her out because she's at 65. And so we walk them through, and this is usually a conversation, not an email. But it's like, hey, it's great that you thought this. You thought your house was worth 325. In actuality, it's worth 245. You thought your house was worth. You thought this. In actuality, that. Somebody was just eating, and I'm just muting it just to make it less confusing. No big deal. Just that's fine. I do the same thing. But anyway, so this is how you run the comps, and then when you fill all this into the form or the CRM when you get there, which actually now I finally can show you how to use it. I do want to hook up with everybody tomorrow and go through and make sure you're logged into the CRM. I had to make some final changes to it. I'll show you why in a second. But so now you put in the form, and then if you have to go in the CRM and make changes, whatever. Now we know all of our facts. We have our bedrooms, we have the bathrooms, we have our pictures, we have this, we have our comparables. Then, and we're happy to get involved earlier. I'm not dumping it on you guys. But then we are doing, now we have enough to have a discussion on. We know the likely sale price by batch leads, by Zillow, and by chat, 240. Could it be softer? Yeah, it could be softer. Could it be better? It could be better. But, we modeled it conservatively. Now, this is what, when it comes to modeling this, and again, we're doing this with you. This isn't we're dumping you in the swim pool, but you're modeling it on on 40, what I call 40th percentile. Which, if you guys haven't been in the academic world, the percentile is the percentage of people who are lower than you, or the percentage of things that are lower than you. So if you're 100th percentile, then everybody's below you. If you're the first percentile, then everybody's better than you. 40th percentile is 40% of the houses are selling for less than this one is. 60% are selling for more. So it's an average, but it's conservative. It's shaved down by a little bit. Think of it as taking the actual ARV, doing 90% of that. So the actual ARV is 100 grand, 90 grand. Now averaging it, cutting it in half to make it simple. 45. If I took the average of, if I took the 50-50 of 100, I'm at 50. Averages don't quite work like that, but I'm trying to make it simple. So it's like, oh, I'm a little below the middle. And that's where the 235, 240 range came in. And then I look at, we've already analyzed what the values are at. And then I say, okay, now we look at the details of how the math works. And chat's done a pretty good job here. I'm trying to find the screenshot. So we've figured out that I'm just going to walk you through because I'm not finding it here. All right, so basically, we think we're going to sell for 245. 70% of 245 is, well, I really should have that prepared. 70%, so take 75 off, basically 24 times 24, 24, so take 75 off. So 165, probably a little lower than that actually, but okay. So 165 is 70% of 245. So 165 is every dollar that the flipper can spend, not us, the flipper, to make the deal happen. And we ran through the estimates of this property that we have new roof, 15 grand, new electrical, 10, 12 grand, new heating system, 10, 12 grand, new plumbing system, 10, 12 grand. Average house has 20 windows. Windows are $400 a piece installed. 8 grand. We ended up kitchens, bathrooms, or whatever around 100 grand. So okay, 245 became 165. I'll get to why in a second, but there, that's your 70%. 165 minus 100, we're back at 65. Now we can't give her 65 and then sell it for 65. We got nothing. We gotta actually give it for 65 and, we got to get it for less and sell it for 65. If the flipper can afford to buy it for 65, we got to be under them. So that's where I'm back to her with 50-55. So that's how we're getting to the numbers. And you guys aren't doing that. We're doing that for you / with you. But collecting the data, getting on the phone with the seller, that's the critical part, getting that conversation. So that is pretty much what we're looking at on doing it. And I ended up sending this to her as an email so she could see it because I knew she was, and I'm going to call her after this, but because I knew she wasn't going to be great about where we were at. So I explained to her, your roof number is 10, Craig. I'd say they're going to go up by 50%. So we walked her through it. We said, here are the comparables in your area. They're not 300. There may be, a couple up there, but they're really in the lower 2s to mid 2s. That's where the world is living. And the market's not getting stronger. And I even included in this letter, I said, with global situations the way they are, I mean, on my level, I'm actually wondering, if other countries dump the U.S. Treasury bonds, we no longer have a stock market. We no longer have, it's all gone. So not to be dramatic, but we're not exactly in the world is great. People's salaries are going up. We're going to pay more for houses because everything is wonderful. We're not in that world. That's not who we are. We're in the opposite. We've been in that world for the last 3 years, but it's gone now. So anyway, so walking her through it, and we said, okay, so we got to buy, the budget for the rehab is 100 grand, purchase and rehab money, and then we're buying it from you for 50 or 60. So it's 160 borrowed. 15% of that is our lender. 8 to 12 is our realtor when we sell it. We have holding expenses, yada, yada, yada. This is why we are where we are. And this is effectively what we're offering you. And her response to that was, wow, well, with everything I've spent on the house and how much I spent carrying it, I need more. And I said, well, I understand that, and this is where I offered you the escalation because I knew you wanted more. I knew you felt it was worth more. But this is math. This isn't sympathy time. This isn't. I want to help you. Don't get me wrong, but this isn't where I can play with the numbers. Because once I buy the house from you, I can't come back to you in 6 months and say, I overspent 20 grand on that house. Can I get 20 grand back? You're not going to go for that. So it's just not going to be an option. So this is kind of the life cycle of a deal, I guess, for lack of a better term, is not the life cycle of a deal so much as this is the life cycle of how we figure out what something's worth. So when you're bringing deals in, I don't need you to filter, should I bring this deal to Steve or not? No. All you have to do is look at the form, fill out the form as much in entirety as possible, run the comps, be able to say, hey, this is why I think these comps are legit. Print to screenshot, download, whatever, upload into the form, things that show me why you think the comps are what they are. And you can do the same thing in Backsleets. Backsleets has the ability to say, we're going to select these and decide that these are what we think are the comparable ones that make sense. I'm not looking at them, I'm just picking them. And then action. Export comps to Excel, export comps to PDF. So export comps to Excel actually goes straight ahead to becoming a download instantly. So whichever, I don't care. The point is, you're then saying to me, I think the comps are this. Hey, Steve, here's what Backsleets showed me. Here's what this showed me. Here's what that showed me. Now, there's one other thing we like you to do as well, and we find this most easily from REI homepages. Although he hasn't put it on REI home, but there it is. This web developer is going to kill me. I told him, but anyway. You go in here, and you go 314 Orchard. Okay. So this is flood zone 8. So our house is here. There's no colors around our house. So not surprisingly, you go to the menu and you're looking at the types of zones, and no color means no zone. No zone of danger. Everything's a zone, but no zone of danger. This one over here with the funny striping is zone AE. Anytime you see a zone A, anything. A is run away, I'm scared. Not necessarily run away, but you're going to get screwed with flood insurance. So people living over here, I mean, this is obviously a river, so this probably doesn't count, but people living over here, their banks are requiring them to have flood insurance, except for these couple little parts that are not colored. People over here, this sort of tan color, I guess, would be not flood likely. People in here are flood. I mean, literally, it's one of those. I live here. I'm in the flood zone. I live here. I'm not in the flood zone. If my property crosses into an AE, I'm getting flood insurance. Unless I buy for cash. My lender is going to make me get flood insurance. So these properties in here they're more expensive to operate, therefore they're less expensive to sell. Because someone buying it's going to look at it and say, I got $2,000 a year in flood insurance, therefore on top of my mortgage, that's $200 a month, therefore the house ain't worth as much. So literally it's, problem child, less of a problem child, and possibly not, flood insurance, probably no flood insurance, definitely no flood insurance. And you're going, if you zoom in, literally there are properties that are in all three. So this house here is sitting outside the flood zone, but its front yard is in a flood zone. So the bank is going to look at the worst case scenario and say, you're paying for flood insurance. So like, maybe a little more clear, this house. His front porch is flood zone, so therefore his whole house is flood zone. So it's good if you do that. All you have to do is go to REI homepage, and he's going to move this, but this under resources, which he still didn't fix the spelling on, is supposed to be a third button. So anyway, that's how you run evaluation. That's how you collect the data and you put it in the form for our wholesale team. And I'll probably actually put the form here as well. I'll probably add it to our resources behind a password wall or something. But that's what we want on the properties. And you're not going to be able to answer every single question. Do not think you're going to have an answer to every question. That's okay. But get as much as you can. Now, if you get some information and then you get more information, that's when you're going to want to go into the CRM, which when I call you guys over the next few days, one by one, I will walk you through it. And I will show you when you go in the CRM exactly how you click it. And I'm going to show you that very briefly here, just so it's there. It's part of all the same thing. Is inside, not GotPrint. App Go High Level. That's probably starts out with App Go. So, any questions while it's opening this next part? Oh, let me turn your mics back on. Sorry, guys. Forgot I did that. All right. Any questions? Oh, no, you muted yourself. Okay, sorry. Anyway, all right. So wow, it's going slow. All right. So within Go High Level, if it ever freaking gets there. Wow, it's slow. Okay, then. I guess we'll just pause for a second while we wait for the drama. All right, so why is it doing that? Once it resolves the sidebar, I'll be able to show you what I'm trying to show you. Oh, that's good. All right. He's actually on the phone with the call. I'm not sure what it's in common sidebar, but anyway, in here, one of these will say opportunities, and I'm guessing by the picture it's this one. There is something fucked up with why this is resolving like this. Anyway, so I'll have to show this separately, but in opportunities, there's a pipeline. It's a drop-down pipeline to show, there it is, seller pipeline. Great. So here is a property. And here's where you can add the rest of the field. So if you fill out the form and you fill out the form and you have more answers to give, you go in here and you add your more answers. I got to ask them why it's displaying like this. But anyway, this is where you add your more answers. So you don't go back to the form again. You do the form once. You get a lead, you talk to a lead, you do the form. Done. We also have other tools we can get into later, but this I think was a lot to cover in one day. Hopefully this, Alex, helps you get started. Now in batch leads, one last thing I want to show you, and this is where you go to their videos to learn it. Their videos are always better than mine. But in Batch Leads, one of these sidebars over here is how you search to find new deals. Batch Leads is very capable of like creating a region. I'm trying to get my phone to shut up. So what you would do is you'll pick, sorry, that's my alarm that it wouldn't shut up about. Anyway, so what you'll do is you'll pick an area, whatever your area is. And you'll, within the filtering of Batch Leads, and that's where you watch their video, you're going to pick things like non-owner occupied, absentee owner, out-of-state absentee owner. You might pick things like pre-foreclosure notices or tax delinquent notices. You might pick things like code violations, which will almost never work in Pennsylvania. Stuff like that. And I will give you the selections tomorrow or Monday of what some of our leading wholesalers are finding work. And then that will generate you a list of owners to call that fit that criteria. You might say Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, non-owner occupied, vacant, absentee owner, variations of that. You might say own more than 5 years. You might not care about ownership time. I typically don't. And then you're just dialing for it's giving you a printout and you're dialing for dollars. Literally is what you're doing. And you're just dialing and dialing and dialing. And when you get a live fish, especially if you're kind of a novice at it, which is who we primarily work with, you get them on the fit line, you try to fold me in. If you can't fold me in, you can try to reschedule a call or just go with the questions. You have the questions. If you don't, let me know. You have the scripts. If you don't, let me know. Everything that you need is in our sheet, which I've sent out to you guys. And remember, we have storage data as well, and we also have the land operating system. We have lots of different options of stuff. But we have this link, this sheet that I created, has the forewarn, has the main script, has the questions, has the batch login, has everything right here on this sheet. Has the voicemail script, has the text script. And obviously it says, I'm reaching out about your property at 164 Main Street, Pottsville. Obviously you're replacing that with your property, whatever. But the point is, this gives you, we're always here, but this gives you a lot of the tools. And this spreadsheet link you should already have. If you don't, check back your emails. If you can't find it, then let me know and we'll get it to you. And I will put it here in the group chat right now. I do have to jump now, though, because Nair needs help on that phone call with Angelo. Hopefully we can. All right, cool. I guess that's it. Any questions, Alex? Anything else?
No.
All right. Sounds good. So the one yesterday,
huh?
The one from Zillow or whatever. The one from Zillow or whatever
Yes.
you sent me yesterday. Pull everything together.
Yes.
That's what this video covered. Pull it together. Fill out the form. Then we'll call and talk about it. We'll go from there.
All right.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right.
And remind me later about Newark. Let's get to Newark.
All right.